Super juicy show on Tyler Herro today, but let me know your thoughts. Is he a pillar? Is he a building block of the Heat organization? Would you build around Tyler Herro? We're going to talk a lot about him and if he can be that for the Heat, but type Y for yes, type N for no, and let's get today's show started. Well, this topic will be very dependent on how you answered the question to start off today's show. And as I'm making this, I don't know what you guys think. I'll look in the comments though for sure. But if you answered no to that question about building around Tyler Herro, then I truly do believe you should look to try to trade Tyler this offseason and reset your roster. And we're going to talk about what a trade could look like, but I want to give a shout out to 5 Reasons Sports Network, who did a full 30-minute pod on this exact topic, kind of highlighting how this could benefit Miami. And if you haven't already, go listen to it. But I want to give them a shout out for the idea, because he could be, referring to Herro, ultimately our Domantas Sabonis. What do I mean by that? Well, if you go back to Sabonis' career, he has been an all-star multiple times, but he has been traded multiple times. Got traded to the Thunder, got traded to the Pacers, got traded to the Kings. He's been traded multiple times. And we know, I think, at this point that Tyler Herro is very similar to Sabonis, an all-star level player. But if you are relying on that person to be a number 1 or 2 on a title team, well, then you're in a pretty bad spot. So what if you did what happened with Sabonis and traded Tyler Herro for a rookie contract to reset your books, reset your roster, and hope that that player on that rookie deal ultimately becomes an all-NBA all-star guy? Because this is exactly how the Pacers got their current build. They traded Sabonis to get Tyrese Halliburton, Buddy Hield, and Tristan Thompson. And at the time, it made sense for the Sacramento Kings to do this. They believed that they could not go forward with both De'Aaron and Halliburton together as a starting backcourt. They wanted a front court pick and roll man with Fox, and they got Sabonis. Now, it hasn't worked out for Sacramento because Sabonis, in my opinion, stinks. And you talk about Fox, well, he's not even on the team anymore. And obviously, you look at the Pacers now, their entire success of back-to-back Eastern Conference Finals, now in the NBA Finals. Like, you got that because you traded Sabonis to get Tyrese Halliburton. And this is something Miami could potentially look to do. And there's another added level to this, right? Like, Herro is right up for an extension. He's eligible this October for a 3-year, $149.7 million deal. If you don't sign it this year in that 20-day window in October, well, then he's eligible for a 4-year, $200 million deal next summer. So if you do not want to pay him $50 million per season, which I am very open to not wanting to do, because I don't know if he's a $50 million player, I think he's more of 35 to 40 million type of range. Why wouldn't you trade him now when his trade value is at the absolute top? Like, he just made his first All-Star game. He averaged 24 points contest, is 25 years old. You can get the best return possible for Herro right now, and you can maybe look to reset your books. So we're going to get into some trade ideas here in a second, but would you trade Tyler Herro? As I showcase the Sabonis kind of dilemma, if you will, that might apply to Herro. Would you trade Tyler? Type T for trade, type K for key. So let's look at 3 different trade ideas that fit that criteria of getting a player that could ultimately become a star, that is currently on a rookie deal, and that team could want Tyler Herro. Well, this is the first trade idea that was also mentioned in that 5 Reasons Sports pod. The Pistons could be very intrigued in here. I'll explain why in a second. But this trade idea lands Jaden Ivey, Ron Holland, Fontecchio, and a top 10 protected 2028 first-round pick to the 305 in exchange for Tyler Herro and Jaime Jaquez Jr. And when you talk about a guard that could blossom into a big-time star if they got their own change of scenery, Jaden Ivey, I think, is absolutely on this list. the former 4th overall pick, who has had a rocky tenure in Detroit over his first 3 seasons, entering the final year of his contract in 2025-26, but finally looked like he was putting it together this past season before he got hurt and cost him 52 games this season. But in that deal as well, you would get Holland, who is an exciting young wing that was drafted inside the top 5 in the 2024 NBA draft. Like, Ivy could be a new guard and lead centerpiece on your team. Like, I mentioned he has 1 year left on his deal before restricted free agency. If you made that deal, you could try to extend him now and take the risk and get him on a cheaper contract if Ivy would be willing to do so. But he has struggled in the past. Turned the ball over a lot. Inefficient scorer, couldn't hit a shot from beyond the arc. Well, in that 30-game stretch before he got hurt, which was a broken left fibula, happened on January 1st, by the way, he was shooting 41% from 3, 47% from the field. Looked not like an all-star, but a player that could be an all-star. Someone that fit well next to Cade. And that was always the issue, right? With Ivy and Cunningham, could the two work together? Could they space the floor? Would they be a solid defensive backcourt enough? Well, that question was almost close to being answered in a positive way for Detroit before he got hurt. And if you traded for Ivy, he would then become your lead on-ball guard that he was drafted to be before Cade Cunningham. It's an intriguing idea. We'll continue to talk about this package here in a second. But make sure you are subscribed because Miami Heat content every single day. Hit that sub button, turn on notifications so you don't miss a video we put out because it truly is every single day. Like, Ivy would be a fascinating player to build around in your backcourt, who is obviously much cheaper and a couple years younger than Tyler Herro. And Holland, another player that you would acquire, alongside a first-round pick, top 10 protected, by the way. He was 5th pick in this past draft. Now, was that a little rich? Yeah, it might have been rich to trade or to draft him 5th overall. But he's an unbelievable athlete. He is a very solid defender. And if he's able to put together a three-point shot and develop in the Heat's shooting system, which has notoriously been really good, this could be a really good connecting piece on the wing, who in Detroit is blocked in terms of having a large role because of Ausar Thompson. And that's kind of why I think Detroit may look to maybe pounce, right? Like, they were very close to beating the Knicks in the first round of this playoff series. Would they have beat Boston? Probably not. But they're kind of there. And with a weakened Eastern Conference to where the top 4 teams next year are projected to be Detroit, New York, Indiana, and Cleveland, what if they push their chips to the table, not in a complete stretch, but just use some of their younger assets that might be blocked from blossoming because of Cade Cunningham, because of Ausar Thompson, to pair up Tyler Herro with Cade? Because when you think of what Detroit needs, they need more scoring, they need more shooting. It held them back in that series against New York. Herro next to Cade, you now have 2 guys that can go for 30 on a nightly basis. Herro's that off-ball scorer for Cunningham, is a great three-point shooter. You protect him defensively with Cade's ability to defend, Duran's ability, Tobias Harris, Ausar Thompson. That 5-man lineup next year would certainly be a top 3 or 4 team in the Eastern Conference. I could see Detroit being interested if they wanted to push their chips to the table and were okay willing to part ways with Jaden Ivey. Another trade idea when this same type of deal is with the Orlando Magic. And it's a little tough to trade him in division, but who really cares about divisions nowadays in the NBA? They're really meaningless. But it's the same type of package. Miami gets salary filler and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 2 young guys, a guard and a forward, and Anthony Black and Tristan Da Silva, a first-round pick, this one being in this year's draft, 25th overall. Now, you are not getting the same caliber of players in return in this trade as you were with Detroit, where were you getting Jaden Ivey, which is the exact reason why in that trade we gave up Hawkins as well. We're not giving up anything other than Herro in this deal. Black, a former top 10 pick just 2 drafts ago, so he's got multi-years left on his deal rather than just 1 year like Jaden Ivey. Da Silva was picked, I think, 17th or 18th this past year's draft, so he's got 3 years left on his deal. Black's got 2 years. I am really high on Anthony Black. I was really high on him 2 drafts ago. A lot of people were skeptical of Anthony Black. And when you look at that draft where it was Wembanyama, Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, Amen Thompson, All-Star Thompson, I was ultimately wrong, and there's no debate about that. But I had Anthony Black as my fourth player on that board. I had him over Amen Thompson, who I had fifth on my board, over All-Star Thompson, who I had sixth on my board, just behind Scoot Henderson, Brandon Miller, and Wembanyama. Now, obviously, the Thompson twins have been better to this point in their career, but that just tells you that I feel confident about his ability to develop. We're talking about a 6'7" point guard with shoes on that is athletic, can get to the rim, is a really good defensive player as well, and has good playmaking upside. If he's just able to finally hone in his offensive craft, his ability to shoot from beyond the arc, you're talking about a point guard that can be really, really dominant. And when you think about why this makes sense for both sides, one, if you're Miami, you get a lead guard to build around, Anthony Black. You add Da Silva, who is a really good connecting winning piece, who I thought Miami was really interested in last year during the draft, and he was one of the guys that I believe Miami would target with that 15th overall pick. And then in the Orlando sense, they need backcourt scoring more than they need oxygen. They need to pair up someone with Banchero and Wagner. You have Suggs to help Herro defensively in the backcourt, Wagner, Banchero at the 3 and 4, and then you figure out your center. Miami gets a couple of guys that are two ways. They can defend, they can score, and with a larger role might blossom into the players that they were drafted to be. Miami also gets a first-round pick in this year's draft, and they would have 2 picks that they could package to move up in the draft or just take a forward at 20, 25 go guard, vice versa. Gives Miami a lot of flexibility. It's certainly a fascinating idea. One more trade idea to get to here, but this quarter zip, which if you've watched our watch parties would know that I have and I wear all the time, 50% off, usually $85. Right now it's $42 when you go to chatsports.com/HeatQZip sale. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Take advantage today and go get the sweet Heat quarter zip. All right, the final trade idea on the video is this. Now, this one is probably the least likely. I got to be honest, because I don't see Utah being in the buyer's market. I also think it could be the worst return for the Miami Heat out of any of these deals. The Heat get Keyonte George, Cody Williams, the top 10 pick in last year's draft, Jordan Clarkson, and the 21st overall pick in this year's draft, which would give you then 2 picks at 20 and 21. Now, the headline player in this deal is obviously Keyonte George, who was a lottery pick a couple of years ago in that same draft class as Anthony Black out of Baylor. And he has put up better offensive numbers than Anthony Black at this point in their careers, but he's a volume scorer to this point and inefficient as well, shooting the same exact percentage in back-to-back seasons at 39.1%, and the three-point percentage wasn't even that good either. He has been able to put up good points per game numbers due to their tanking structure the past 2 years and his just shot-chucking mentality, which was welcomed on a team that was tanking. And when you factor in the other player you're getting there, and Cody Williams, boy, was he rough last year, but he has a lot of tools. He's a traitsy developmental guy. Maybe the Heat could see how they could develop him and take the shot there, but it would take a pretty good developmental system around him to finally get him onto that track that had him as a top 10 projected pick. But if you think about the guards that the Heat are acquiring in these 3 trade ideas of Jaden Ivey, Keyonte George, Anthony Black, Keyonte George is definitely the worst one, in my opinion. Like, he doesn't defend, he turns the ball over, but he is a volume scorer. Now, when you think of all these trade ideas that I've discussed and this overall idea of trading Herro, it would be extremely ballsy by the front office to do this because Herro, homegrown talent, fan, I think, favorite for the most part, despite what some people in the comments think and say. Like, it would not make the fan base happy. It's also admitting that you're taking a step back and kind of resetting your timeline, which, one, I don't think I don't think Pat Riley would want to do. I don't think he will do it. These are trades that are fun to talk about. They're hypotheticals. It's a conversation to be had in mid-May when there's really nothing else going on. But I don't actually see these things happening because this is not simply in Pat Riley's nature. I don't think the Heat are willing to give up on the Bam Adebayo, Tyler Herro kind of led build, at least as of right now. All right, so before we close out today's show, I want to get your thoughts one last time. Which Herro trade was your favorite? Was it the one with the Pistons? That's number one. Was it the one with the Magic, with you get Anthony Black? That's number two. Or was it number three, the one with the Utah Jazz, where they get Keyonte George and Cody Williams? Let me know your thoughts. Which trade was your favorite? 1, 2, or 3? Unironically, I think I would actually rank them in the order we revealed them today. Like, if I power ranked them, my favorite would be the one with the Pistons where you get Jaden Ivey and Ron Holland. The second favorite would be where you get Anthony Black and Tristan Da Silva. And then my third favorite would be the Jazz one. I like the Pistons the most. Yeah, you'd have to pay Ivey sooner than any of the other young players, but I like Ron Holland's upside. You would get a first-round pick as well. Now, who knows? Maybe Tyler Herro's trade value isn't as high as I think it is, and those are a little bit too much to offer from Orlando, from Detroit. But I think it's a fair deal for both of those teams. Both teams could use the services of Tyler Herro in a pretty big way to help project them forward into the Eastern Conference power rankings and ability to potentially win the conference. But we'll see. But this is why you subscribe, because, well, if it's news, if it's rumors, if it's just hypotheticals that I want to talk about, that I saw the community talking about, we will always have you covered around the Miami Heat at the channel. So subscribe today and join the family.